What's up, man? Welcome back to another episode of Deck Talk Podcast. And I got some quick news that I'm just going to brief through. And I want y'all to know that Norman has decided that he needed to boost up Norman Lee fishing and to get it bigger. So he has decided to step away from Deck Talk Podcast. And so filling his shoes and the new co-host of Deck Talk Podcast is my good buddy Josh Vaughn, aka Pappy. Everybody just calls him Pappy, so just call him Pappy. He'll answer to anything besides late to dinner. But guys, real quick, you know what we got to do? We've got to get to some business, and the sponsor for tonight's episode is Bruiser Baits, guys. And with Bruiser Baits, they have all types of baits, but the baits we want to highlight tonight is going to be the Sidekick. The Sidekick is a new Bruiser Baits production that they have done that is designed for a big bladed jig trailer. They use durable hard or medium to hard plastic for the body and medium soft tail that gives a strength and action in just the right places. The Sidekick is a large 4.5-inch trailer bait with a large tall tail and a thick jointed body for a great weight for casting. The combination gives a very fluid, tight paddle. It simulates a fleeing bait fish. The baits also feature body slots and ridges for the drag in the water dispersions. Try it on your bladed jigs, even on your Texas rig, guys, but also make sure you go to bruiserbaits.com and use the Deck Talk Podcast for the promo code, discount code. Make sure you check that out, guys. But I want to say we are excited about today. We have one of our, if you remember back, that we've been doing this for 3 years, and we have a long time guest that had came on back in 2023, and right after the Classic in Knoxville, Tennessee, we have Louis Monetti, and Louis Monetti is a collegiate angler that qualified for the Bassmaster Classic in the most brilliant way and through the college. We're going to get into that, but guys, welcome Louis Monetti. What's up, brother?
Thank you, man. Yeah, not much. Well, not much at all. Just hanging out, traveling the country, fishing as much as I can. Good to be talking to you guys, and looking forward to sitting here and talking fishing with you guys.
Man, it is. Again, it's an honor. Every time I know that I go to a show, you're one of the people that I always have to look for because I know that you're going to be there somewhere, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And I want to talk though about like you're growing up fishing. I know we kind of hit on it in your first episode that you was in, but some of these people may not have heard of Louis Monetti. But if you hadn't heard about him, you're fixing to hear. So, Louis, can you tell us how did you get started into fishing?
Yeah, no, my roots go back to the little armpit of America some people call New Jersey. I grew up there. My dad got me into fishing when I was 3 or 4 years old, and we were hardcore, all the time. As long as the water was warm enough to have something in it. So in Jersey, that's late February to Thanksgiving, sometimes even Christmas. We were saltwater fishermen. Striped bass, bluefish, fluke or flounder by most people's standards. And yeah, we fished all the time. I kind of, as I got older and started fishing by myself more, if he was working or whatever, I kind of, got bit by the bug. I definitely did more kind of pond fishing, but more so for like pan fishing stuff. And when I was in grade school, I had a buddy introduce me to bass fishing and just got absolutely addicted. Fell in love with it instantly. I always said that I've always been a super competitive person, but have never been too great at any one sport. Um, and so I've always been fishing, always been, pretty all right at it. And I got into tournament fishing when I was 14 or 15 years old and haven't really looked back.
Yeah, that is crazy. I couldn't imagine. And I mean, I I didn't start tournament fishing, I guess, until late 20s is when I started tournament fishing. But Pappy, you've been tournament fishing for
I turned just local stuff, but it's I couldn't imagine the grind you guys go through, each and every week. I mean, just on the local side of it. I mean, it's a once a month thing over here, but
Yeah.
you guys, man, it's a totally different atmosphere, and I really admire that because a lot of times when I go pre-fish even my local stuff, it's crazy getting off of work, running to the lake, trying to find something, what kind of pattern they're on or whatever. But there's something that's interesting about how you got into this. Could you tell us about the story fishing on a boat with no graphics? I am dying to hear about this, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I mean, I guess I left not part of the story out. I guess I told the story of how I got into bass fishing, but how I kind of became the bass fisherman that I am. I get Jersey kid who somehow found themselves a largemouth bass like I did. My idol, my hero, and still to this day, even though I borderline as scary as this is, want to call him a friend, is Mike Iaconelli. And I remember reading his book when I was 13 or 14 years old, fishing on the edge. And he talks about in that book how you have to, how he preaches climbing ranks, right? And you start here at the club level and you work your way from the club level to maybe some regional stuff. And then from there and so on and so forth. And so I always took that to heart. You see a lot of guys now, not to knock anybody, but you see a lot of kids nowadays that they get out of high school and they jump right into the Toyotas or they jump right in the Opens. And that's just not how I kind of saw it. I saw it as you work your way up the ladder. And I think what's lost, what I gained from that, that's lost on some of the youth, is how to do it. Not so much how to fish, but the etiquette and the camaraderie and all of the stuff that I think is missing a little bit nowadays in bass fishing. And so I kind of just learned from those guys, and the guys that I learned were guys in a club, a small club, 13, 14 boats, and none of them had graphs. Everybody had old boats. I mean, I remember fishing as a non-boater with guys that ran around without they didn't have a back graph. They didn't have a map to run around with. It was a flasher and memories from the last 35 years. And so that's how, even as a 14, 15-year-old kid in 2016 or whatever, that's how I learned how to fish.
That's awesome.
And so I've always I've been comfortable with it. And frankly, I miss it. I've been kind of forced to learn the new trends and kind of dive more into my grass as time is on. But yeah, I fished through all my college career without a graph on the front, just a map on the back. Map and side imaging. I use side imaging a bunch, but old school. I mean, I actually still have the same graph and still use it. It's an HDS 8 Gen 1. And that's what I side scanned with. And I found a lot of fish on that thing, and that was my graph to run around with. And if I was fishing somewhere where I fished offshore, which I did, it's not like I was only I fished offshore a bunch. I mean, in Jersey, you grow up, and the way to fish is fishing offshore grass, and little piles in the grass and stuff like that. And so that's kind of how I learned how to fish. Obviously, I think bank fishing is more my speed, but I certainly did a lot of offshore fishing, and I did it with a marker buoy and a graph, one map at the back, and that was kind of it. And if you go back and watch that classic bracket where I qualified, I caught my first limit on day one of the tournament entirely on a Carolina rig on rock piles I found on side imaging and fished thanks to a marker buoy.
That's awesome, man. I know. I had them. I had it just like an old Humminbird 5-inch graph on the front of my bow, but it still, I kept a marine map on me at all times, and that's pretty much how I learned how to fish. Was it's that old marine map, and all the guys would give me, man, they would drag me so bad, but that was my way. That's the only way I knew. So I really admire that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. You make do with what you have, right? That's just the way it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now,
yeah.
And one thing that I can remember that I think, like every time that I think of you, I think of your dad. And because two reasons. The first reason is the video of when you made it to the Classic. I've never seen somebody that was more excited. It was almost like he got into the Classic. And because it was one of those things like you didn't know that you had it. And then when it come out that you got it, and then they panned out to your family and stuff, and just seeing the excitement and the thrill that they had, I was like, oh yeah, that's one thing I will always remember. And then the second thing is when we were at the Classic, and it was day 3, and we had talked. We were standing there talking to you, and your dad was just over there, and he was just. We built the podcast up. Like last year, we finished 121 on Apple Podcast and Sporting Podcasts, and so and that's over 43,000 sporting podcasts that's out there, and so we built this podcast up. But at that time, we were literally nobodies. But
as was I.
Right, but and I think that's one thing. Like I kind of gravitated to you because it is almost. I don't want to say
kind of started together.
Yeah, we were babies together. On that big stage.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
And then, like your dad, he was just so appreciative that we gave you the time to be able to talk about your experience, and then we've had you on, and then after that, he even messaged me on Facebook and saying just thanks again for having you on, and I was like, man, so
that's awesome, man. I didn't even know that. That's really cool. Yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing like that. Fishing's got an interesting place these days. I feel like where there's a lot of this and that and drama and kind of BS going around. But that tournament, the Bassmaster Classic, man, it's I feel like it all just kind of goes away. I think you guys, as media guys who are there, watching and appreciating it, and as well as anglers, I feel like we feel that, together in a way that the fans kind of don't, as much as the fans are into it and all of that. I feel like the anglers and the guys that see it, like the takeoff and the media room, and you see the emotion and all of the stuff that surrounds that tournament, and it's just unlike anything else. It truly is, and that's why no matter what happens to me in fishing, and whether I've got to hang up or what have you. I will always fish the nation. I will always leave open that avenue to try and get back to that tournament because there's nothing like
Yeah.
it's the
Oh,
best.
you know what we need, don't you, Lewis? We need you to rock it out in the nations and hit it next year since it's back in
I know.
Knoxville. I mean, you done pretty well in Knoxville, and so we
Yeah,
would love to be able to see that again to have you. And you better believe I'm going to be there at every single launch, and I'm gonna be like, hey, I need you over here by the docks so I can talk to you. So
absolutely, man. Yeah, I you better believe I'm trying. It's a long, hard road through the nation, but I tried a little bit last year. I fished one of the qualifiers. This year, I was gonna fish. I was basically gonna fish one, and then if I didn't make it to the national, I was gonna fish another. And now I just fished one on Pickwick a couple weeks ago, and it's of the two that I've fished, I have come between 30th and 40th both times, which is a paycheck, but not qualifying. So I've got a score to settle. I'll go to the James River in a couple more weeks, and looking for that top 15 or so to qualify. Because man, I just want to have a shot. I want to get back, but no, I agree with you. I plan to be there, and it'll be fun if we are. That's for sure.
it definitely will be. Um, I want to talk though, like is since we're talking about the classic, it was there
Mhm.
has is there any other like tournaments and stuff that you have like you get that feeling? I mean, because I know like for me when I get ready for a tournament, there's that nervousness, but as soon as
Mhm.
it's go time, and as soon as that throttle's hit, the lights turn on. It's the nerves are gone. Um,
Yeah.
but has there been any other tournaments that you fished that you kind of like because you had talked about you had nerves, but again, it was uh, as the week went on, you kind of settled in, and you can tell by your fishing at the classic and stuff too that you had settled in. You found some good fish, and you was
Hmm.
able to hold your own against the world's top anglers, um, and so is there anything else like other tournaments that you have come to that you have gotten that nerves? I know that's the biggest stage in fishing, but
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer. I would say I don't know. I'm an interesting person in that like get the nerves that bad. I almost, in a weird way, I almost get more nerves and more anxious and all of that stuff. The lower level stuff that I fish,
really,
like if I if I show up to the bragging rights tournament for $20 with my buddies, I'm almost more, kind of on edge, more pressed,
yeah,
like than I am to show up to the classic. I think like I don't know what it is. I think you probably know this. I'm not a person to try and brag or kind of boast at all.
right,
But I've kind of find out about myself since the classic and since that magical year in the college series that I like, how in sports, in basketball and baseball and football, like you got the guy who's like the big game pitcher or the big game quarterback. Like I feel like I almost have some of that in me. And when the lights are brightest and all the pressure's there, like the nerves are the least they can be. Like I don't know what it is inside of me. I wish I could tell you that I have something that I channel and I get dialed in by this. I don't know what happens, but like it's like when I've got all the pressure on me, it's when I'm the calmest.
yeah.
It's weird. I don't know what it
So,
is.
so take us. All right, day one of the classic. You're
Hmm.
sitting in your boat, fixing to blast off. What's running through Lewis's mind? What kind of
Oh
emotions? I
man.
know you kind of touched on it, but
Well, you got to think
it was,
during that classic,
yeah,
they had like 3 days that was three different types of weather during that classic,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so they had one that was the first day was kind of warm, second
hmm
day rained, I think, and then the third day was cold. I can remember
yeah, and
that
sunny.
everybody was kind of bundled up on that third day.
Yeah, it was an interesting tournament, and I think because of the structure of the week, the way that it goes, and it was like Thursday or Wednesday you practice, Thursday off day, media day, and then Friday is the first day of the tournament. I was sitting there just going, my God, they better be there. I mean, I had I had such a good practice, and I felt like they were coming to where I was fishing, and I was so like amped up there and fish. Like I was there was so much noise, and I was just so ready to fish. I truly thought I was gonna get there and smash them. I there wasn't a bone in my body I didn't think I wasn't gonna top five that tournament. I don't know what it was, but that day one I was just amped. It wasn't until um, day three, the last day, I was in 23rd or 24th place or whatever I was in. Gussie had a, you know, huge lead and a huge at that point, unless you catch 30 pounds on a place for 30 is
Right.
not tournament. Um, that morning was the first time that whole week, that morning, the third day was the first time that I was driving down the lake and looked at the sunset and looked at the crowd, and I was like, that got me like shaken. Like it wasn't until I was out of the tournament that I was like, holy hell, this is happening. This is the craziest thing ever. That was the only time throughout the whole thing that I teared up, was driving down to my first spot on day three when it was over for me. And I was like, I can't recreate this, it's magic. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. I don't know what'll ever happen if I'm ever in one and contending. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully I've still got that. God, I hope I catch him and I don't get the nerves to hit me. But
Yeah. Because I can imagine you've worked so hard, and like on day one this year, what there was three guys that walked across the stage with no fish. I can just imagine,
hmm
like, you're in your mind, you're like, man, I worked so hard. And I mean, because unless you come out of, I mean, and blow it out of the water day two and day three, you really have no shot. And so you're like,
hmm
I'm over here thinking when that was going on, I was like, man, these guys worked all year to be able to get it. I mean, pretty much some of them's been working their whole lives to get to that stage.
Yeah.
And then to walk across the stage that first time that people may have ever seen them, where you've got sponsors and stuff that's in the crowd or watching it on TV, and this is your opportunity to kind of shine, and then you walk across the stage on day one with no fish. I'm like, I felt so bad for them guys, uh, and so,
It's
but
tough.
to see you, one of the greatest, and I actually got a picture. I need to send it to you. You come through the curtains, and you reach down in that live well, and you just hold that big old fish up. And so I was like, heck yeah. And so,
Yeah.
um,
It was so cool, and it's funny actually. Watching back, like you can go like what I'm saying is validated by the fact that you can go and watch the weigh-ins. I like, I think I did a really good job of showing that I was appreciative, because and I was so happy to be there. But you can tell, and kind of like what I said to Dave, that I was not happy with how I'd done. I was like, I was ready to get back out there. I was wanting to make day three, and yeah, it's just so cool. And yeah, I mean, The crazy thing about the Classic, though, like going back to like the guys walking across at no fish on day one or a tough day on day one, if there's ever a tournament where crazy stuff can happen, it's that one. I mean, it's
Oh yeah.
happened before; it'll happen again. Um, and so, obviously, this year Easton, my goodness, blew it out of the water. But in years past, I mean, there have been. I mean, you go back to Gunnersville 2014 when Howell won. I think.
No, he leaves him. I don't know, guys, if we lost Louis, but he'll probably try to get on here, back on here.
Yep, gotcha.
Yep, got you now. There it is.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah. Oh, there. So, what he was talking about at Gunnersville 2014 when Randy Howe won, we actually had Randy on, and Randy was telling us, and which is a well-known story. Can you hear us, Louis?
Yep, I got you.
So he's told the story like he was going down the river, and he's like, it just felt like the good Lord was telling me, turn around. And you see him, because there was a video of like him coming down, and then you turned that sucker back. And what was it? It ended up being the biggest bass in, I think, Classic history, maybe up to that point.
No, it was the biggest comeback in Classic. Yeah.
And but that's a crazy story, though.
Oh yeah, magical things happen there. They do. I don't know if I think a sub. I don't know if you heard what I said. It might have been when I cut out, but like a sub plot to that tournament was Paul Mueller. Was at the time he was the nation qualifier, and he had 8 pounds on one and backed it up with 32 and 29, and came in second to Howell. And like, as amazing as Howell's was, there were so many that tournament had like 5 or 6 different amazing comeback potential stories going on. That was a phenomenal tournament. It was one of the first ones I remember watching when I got into it. But yeah,
now,
it's just
if you had 32 the first day and 29 the second day, how bad are you strutting on day 3 going to the getting to your boat?
I mean, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. Like, you look at what Gussie did in Knoxville in that tournament. I mean, he had the tournament won essentially. He only needed to catch 3 or 4 fish, and he went out and caught 2. You know, it's just nuts.
If he would have just went out and caught a limit, no matter what size it was, he had it won. And so,
oh God, yeah, he won it with 2. Yeah, it's nuts. There's so much crazy stuff happened in that tournament. That I can't wait to get back. I fully plan and expect to get back to one.
We expect you to get back to one too.
Oh yeah.
And so, but I want to talk to you because like this year tournaments and stuff, different tournament series has like made some big adjustments. Pretty much all of them made big adjustments. With the forward-facing sonar, one went away from it. You have another one that has it, just you have it for a limited amount of time, and then the other one limits your screens and the transducers. With that, like John Cox blows my mind because he fishes to where he can have it. It's legal for him to have it and fish with it whenever he wants. And it's still in the package in his truck. And so, and I know that's more like how you fish too, is that you're a shallow water fisherman. So how amazing is that to know, like, John Cox is over here doing this. I don't need, and that's one thing that I like that I've really uh, I've taken from you is like you can have the $100,000 boats and you can have all the screens, you can have everything. I'm just going to go out here and do it Lewis's way, and that's just essentially like what John Cox does. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I was talking to him at the Classic this year, and I says, "Where do you think you're going to catch them?" He says, um, "If they're not within a foot or shallow, I'm not catching them." So,
Yeah.
and so, but and you know, you fished against him, and you know that's how he
Yeah.
goes.
Oh yeah,
So,
no, I wish that I could tell you I was still that way. I had my year on the opens, which severely humbled and kind of changed how I looked at things. From a sense that I think that there's a world where if you're John Cox, or maybe if I get a lot better me, where you can compete up there at the elite level or the Bass Pro
yeah,
Tour, and you can have your moments without it. Um, I am pretty convinced from what I saw in the opens, it's not very possible. Um, I'm sure John could do it. I'm not saying that he couldn't because he's an absolute phenom, an anomaly, and he is incredible. The opens are just different. There's so many more boats, at a lot of them, and the weights that these guys are putting up, and the power that forward facing has, it's just very hard to overcome without it. Again, I still think John could do it. I think his skill and mindset is on a different playing field than most anybody
no,
else's.
it
He is.
varies.
I mean, it's unbelievably positive and upbeat and careless in a good way, careless,
Yeah,
um, and just so he's unbelievable. He truly is unbelievable. And so, um, my year on the opens kind of made me say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take 2 years off of the opens. I'm going to learn how to use this technology. I'm still doing it on an old boat. I bought a new boat, but it's a 1998 Ranger, um, and I fully committed. It's the only thing that I've done for the last 2 years is stare at a screen.
yeah,
Um, and I don't like it. Um, my goal with it has been, and I'm thinking about coming out with a YouTube or something like that soon, where I can kind of spread my thoughts on things more and just kind of share my travels and talk fish and do all that kind of stuff. Just because I don't know, there's a lot in this brain that goes on that maybe someone would be interested in hearing, but I I don't like it. My goal with it, like I was gonna say, has been I want to become the first young guy, you know, younger than 40, 30 years old, who's really good with this technology. Which there's a lot of us. There's a lot of young guys who are really good with this technology. I want to be the first one who actively hates it, who actively comes and says I hate it, because as much as annoying as it is and how frustrating as it is and how I relate with a lot of the elder statesmen of the Elite Series and just fishing in general, the fact of the matter is, um, they're all, for the most part, older. Um, they're all not as good as the younger guys are with it. And so when you argue against something and say it's this, it's that, it's crap, it's whatever, but you're coming from a place where you don't have the experience with it, you're not as adept with it, your argument isn't worth as much. I want to be the first guy who is young, who is really good with it, who still actively says, "No, I'm good with it. I'm young and it sucks. I hate it. It's not good. It's not for fishing." That's kind of my goal with it.
yeah.
So
You
I've
got some
committed.
competition though with Randy Blockett though.
Yeah, yeah, I do.
You got
The
some.
only difference is I use it.
Yeah.
I use it, and I like to think I'm getting pretty okay with it. I'm not near on the level of a lot of these younger guys. I got a long way to go, but I think I'm pretty all right with it at this point. So we'll
Now,
see.
now I got to. I can't have you on,
Hmm.
and you're. I mean, you're doing your thing in the fishing world as your fishing tournaments, you're fishing the nations, and all that. But you are also uh, running around the country trying to sell some Bizz Baits, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
So
yeah. That's the full time gig right now.
now I had we were looking at. I was telling old Pappy, and he's like, "I got to see what these things look like." So I pulled them up online. Now I tell you, this guy can throw a spinner bait. Loves to
Hmm.
throw a spinner bait, and
Really?
he's seen a couple of them things that he's like, "Those things are money."
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
I love throwing spinner bait. I love it.
yeah.
And you can do so much, so versatile. I mean, you can do so much with it. You
Oh,
know,
absolutely.
and I've caught some good fish off spinner baits. Slow
Yeah.
rolling it, anything. I mean, really anything. You can throw it
Hmm.
on structure, docks. I mean, anywhere. I love them. I love them things.
Yeah, it's just it's a timeless bait, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the chatterbait has obviously taken a lot of the spotlight of a spinnerbait, and I think for good reason. I'll be honest with you. Personally, I'm a chatterbait guy. I don't know if it's the time that I grew up in or what, but it's my bait. I mean,
Right.
you take away everything, and that might be the one I choose. But that being said, a spinnerbait has immense power. I've caught the biggest fish I've ever caught in my life on it. Um, and I think one thing that's a little bit not unique about ours, but I kind of lost to time, and you'll know exactly where I'm going with this. And guys complain about it, like guys that are newer to spinnerbait fishing or whatever, complain about, oh, your guys' spinnerbait, it bends a little bit easier than ours than a normal one. It doesn't last as long. We use a thinner wire in our spinnerbait, and
Mm-hmm.
guys who are spinnerbait throwers know that is so key to get the action and the vibration that you need out of a spinnerbait. You need to use a little bit thinner of a wire. Now we're not going down like a .30. We use a .32. A lot of the ones you're going to see on the market use a .35, some even a .37. We use a .32. It's a little bit lighter. That's what you need in a spinnerbait. You want to get bites. That's what you got to do. And I think you probably noticed that it has that little bit thinner of a wire, and that's a key component.
Yeah.
now, do you throw it with a trailer or without a trailer?
Ooh, oh boy, you're getting into. We're going to get into some hot topic debate here. I have a feeling. No, I I feel like a lot of bass fishing is very split on this. We should start arguing more about this and less about forward facing sonar because I think everyone's tired of hearing about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, let's
me
start it
personally,
up. Let's get it going.
yeah, let's get the spinnerbait trailer argument going. For me personally, growing up, I was always a just a trailer hook, no trailer, and I got older. I met some guys in the Carolinas who are more manly fishermen than I once was. Um, and they said, you gonna throw a spinnerbait in the Carolinas, you're gonna throw a split tail, and you ain't gonna put no damn trailer hook on there. Excuse my
Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
Um, and once I started doing that, I think I've caught more fish. I think I've gotten better hookups for some weird reason. That and to this day, that makes no sense to me at all. But yeah, I put a trailer on there. I'd say 98% of the time it's a split tail. The 2% that it's not a split tail, it's some kind of boot tail. and that's only when it's dirty as hell, and I feel like they need to key in on something to get the hooks instead
Right.
of the blade.
See,
The
I
only
think that
time,
I think that's a big deal too. That split
yeah,
tail. There's something about a spinner bait and a split tail grub. I don't know what it is. I've thrown single tails. I've caught more fish off a split tail grub on a spinner bait than I have anything.
yep, it's killer. I don't know why
Yeah.
either. It's so silly looking, but it is killer. So yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page. We don't have to start the fight here. Um,
No.
the
I'll
one,
start the fight. I mean, it doesn't mean that I don't agree with you, but if we want
yeah,
to go to kind of say like
yeah.
screw off forward facing sonar, we'll get it going, Lewis. I mean, we're all about it.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think it's a very interesting topic because there are incredibly respectable anglers, and not only anglers but spinnerbait anglers on both sides of this.
Yeah.
I know Rick Clunn. Rick Clunn is a
Oh, yeah.
diehard trailer hook believer, and
Yeah.
I mean, what? How are you going to debate that guy?
Yeah. Then you
And then
got
you go
Jimmy
to
Houston. I
right.
mean,
It's it's
KVD.
very
yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
And so, I mean, yeah, Jimmy and KVD and Rick Clunn made a living off of that bait.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can't can't argue with them.
It's
So
interesting. It really is. I will say there's one exception to my no trailer hook. When I go up north, I really like to burn around a chartreuse, all chartreuse spinner bait. I usually like a 5/8 or a 3/4, sometimes a half. And I mean burn it, burn it, throw it out there and burn that handle. That's the one time I go no trailer, just trailer hook because I'm moving that thing so fast that it needs to stay down, which the trailer will alter that. It'll keep it up a little bit.
Right.
yeah,
And those smallmouth, I feel like sometimes those smallmouth hit it so hard that you just have to have more hooks somewhere on that thing to
yeah.
get them to get hooked.
But it's funny that you say that you want to keep it down. And like when I'm throwing a
Mhm.
spinner bait, I want to keep it up. I want them blades on the top of that water just going across.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I down here I do that all the time. Especially this time of the year, like that pre-spawn, they get up on a shallow flat or something like that, or you're trying to get it up over a log. It's just when you're up there, for whatever reason, it seems like those smallmouth and that super clear water, the faster you turn the handle, the better they bite it.
Yeah.
And so keeping it down is a problem when you're trying to reel it that fast.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I usually go. That's when I go with no trailer, and I go with the trailer hook. And I'll even thin out some of that skirt too, just to like create as little
Right.
drag as I can, get that bait to stay down, and just turning it.
Yeah.
And that
About like burning
is
a crankbait.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And the bites you get doing that are, I mean, it's unlike anything else. They hit it
Yeah.
so freaking hard. It's the best.
Now,
But yeah,
do you not fish?
do I what?
Do you not time fish?
I've gone through spells. We had we had a period of time in college. It was actually during COVID. It was during COVID in college where it was a bunch of us guys. We were all broke. We all had nothing to do, and I think like every Monday and Thursday night we would put together a club because the school wouldn't like sanction our tournaments. So we'd just go to the closest lake and everybody throw in $5 and we do like what do we even do? I feel like it was in the fall and we do like 6 to 1:30 or something ridiculous on a Monday night. Like cuz you knew no one else was going to be out on the lake and they were biting good and we did it for like 3 months straight and just went out there and caught them. And then actually this past summer, I ran a little local night tournament on a lake that doesn't have many tournaments. Just because I was like, you know what, Wednesday night's the only night of the week we don't have tournaments around here in the Carolinas, so I'm gonna start one up, and it's gonna be on a lake where they don't have any tournaments. And it went really well, and I did that for probably 2.5 months. Fished every week at night till 11:30. And then I get tired of it. Like I get hankerings to do it, and I'll go and do it for 2 months like that, and then I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'll never night fish again. And then a year and a half later, I'm like, it's time to go night fishing again. I don't know.
Yeah.
So sometimes is the best way I can answer that.
Yeah. I know. Well, Pappy, he loves to night fish.
Yeah.
And I think what it is, Louis, is because he gets hot real fast. And so it's a little cooler. So I
Yeah.
think that's what it is.
My favorite time to smallmouth fish is at night.
Really?
I love smallmouth fishing at night. I seem to do a lot better at night because I can throw a big 3/8 ounce single willow leaf spinner bait, just slow rolling it off the bottom, just bouncing it off the bottom, and I catch so many smallmouth. Well, I've caught more smallmouth at night doing that than I have during the daytime. Obviously, not using that kind of technique, but
Sure.
But that's my favorite technique to throw. I love spinner baits, and
Yeah.
and I like chatterbaits too. Though I will throw a chatterbait.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's similar. They're similar, not the same, but they are similar.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. My solution to when it gets hot in the summertime and I'm tired of fishing in 98 degrees.
He should be coming back on. But let's see.
You hear me?
Yeah, we got you now. Yep. So
my solution in the summertime when it gets too hot is I just drive 10 hours north and stay in a tent for a week and fish the St. Lawrence River or something. But I think your solution's probably better. Yeah, that too. That too.
Yeah.
I don't do too terribly much night fishing, but I'm a guy that I just take a Texas rig and you put a Texas rig in my hand, I can fish all day. And but when I'm not fishing, I'll take a Texas rig or I'll take a 1 ounce spinner bait and chunk that sucker around. And I have noticed there's I'll throw like a black spinner bait, but I've done better here of late with the blades that are like that greenish looking blade. I don't know if you've seen those. At nighttime has been, I have gotten a little bit more bites off of it. I don't know. We literally are in the process, Louis, of moving. I've got a box underneath this table that is full of baits, and I guarantee you there's some in there. But I haven't yet. I do want to talk though.
I've had a bunch of. Yeah. Go ahead.
I do want to talk y'all's football head jigs. Every time I see that and I see y'all at shows, I have to pick that thing up. It's almost like it attracts me. I can Texas rig and a football head jig. Let's go to town. And but that Bizz Bait football head, I don't know what it is that attracts that. I mean, it is a great looking bait.
Yeah. The football is awesome. I'd be lying if I told you I threw it a bunch. And it's only because our heavy finesse. I don't know if you've seen that one, but it's almost like if you took the football and squashed it in a hair. It's not quite a round ball, but it's not quite a football either. That one is my favorite. The football is awesome, but we're kind of transitioning actually towards more of that heavy finesse style, and we're going to kind of do some unique things with that head shape because we've gotten a lot of great feedback on it, and it's just like I said, it's kind of in between a football and a ball, and so you kind of get the best of both worlds with it. And it's got a stout hook still. Like that's what I think is so key about that jig is it's that small kind of a little bit tinier profile, but it's got that stout hook.
Yeah, and that's
And
one thing that I did. I seen that because we drag a jig on Nickajack a lot,
yeah,
and um, we. I mean, if you're like, we could go and it's the best time to go is when a lot of people's not on the water. When that sucker's like 95 plus and it's scorching out there, and you're like, this sucks. But I guarantee you, we can go out there and catch 100 smallmouth in a day. And
That's when you go to 9.
no, that's not bad, man. But we would use something like that, that heavy finesse that y'all have. But I hadn't seen it. I haven't seen anything that had that hook, the stiff hook, or that beefy hook like that y'all have. And so, but I mean, I don't know what it was about. I mean, the football head always grabs my attention, but all of like the jigs that y'all have been phenomenal. That I mean, I'm like, I gotta grab that, I gotta grab this, and so, but and I can understand though with that heavy finesse, with everything going to the finesse. I mean, you're seeing the drop shots and you're seeing the little minnows and stuff with the forward facing sonar. I mean, if y'all don't go towards that way, you're missing out on everything. So I totally understand that.
Yeah, and it's super key too, because especially for our kind of local region, in the Carolinas, we got a lot of dock lakes and a lot of spotted bass lakes. And so when you're dealing with spotted bass, you're dealing with the smaller mouths. They like a little bit smaller of a profile. But when you're dealing with docks, you got to have something that you can get a fish out of there with. And so that's kind of what birthed that jig, is being able to get that tiny jig up under a dock, get a 3-pound spot to eat it, and then get them out and still be able to use 20-pound line. So that's kind of where that jig came from. And I think that's actually really popular around here too. I'm in Oklahoma right now. I think those kind of smaller but stiff hook jigs, I think that's also a really popular thing in this region as well.
I mean,
it's an effective tool.
Right. So, what is if Louis has to go out and catch a fish? It doesn't matter, a pound, 8 pounds, or whatever. If Louis has to go out there and catch a fish, what is Louis taking? What is he using to catch that fish?
This is going to be a horrible question that I hate that I'm about to ask. Do I have live scope or not?
Old school.
Let's go old school. So that's what got you to the classic. Let's go old school.
Oh man, I'm gonna treat this like it's any lake. I don't know let's say I don't know what time of the year it is. I don't know where I'm going. Oh boy. I'm gonna say stick bait. Good old 4 or 5 inch stick bait.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. If it's dirty water, you go with a black one. If it's clean, you go with a green one. You want to catch a small one?
That was going to be the next question.
It's the best.
Yeah. Now, you've been able to, with your collegiate and with the opens and then with the nations and then now like with your job and stuff, you're traveling all over the country. Have you noticed, is there a color that you're like, all right, I'm going to throw this color no matter what, this is going to catch me a fish? So is there a color that you've noticed that tends to catch more fish primarily anywhere in the United States?
So what I will say to that is yes and no. And I'll tell you why I say that. Yes, because I have caught fish on green pumpkin and black everywhere I've gone in the country. No, because I only throw green pumpkin and black no matter where I go in the country. So, can I tell you if one really stands out? Not
What's
really,
that?
because I don't really give too much else to try. I'll say this: I, I have had experiences where color matters.
Yeah,
But for me, it's something I just try to take out of my personal equation when I'm figuring out a lake. I just try to eliminate it. That being said, there are times and there are places where I go out there and I got my green pumpkin tied on, but because of a past experience or because something that I maybe know or have heard, I might go and change a little bit quicker than I normally would.
yeah,
Another thing, um, forward facing has made me sometimes change when I used to not. If I'm seeing a ton of fish that I feel like should be eating but won't, I might start changing colors before anything else. But primarily, no, I really do try and keep it basic. I mean, there are certain things that I do. Like, I mean, if I go to Florida, I add June bug to that mix. I
yeah.
add a red bug to that mix. When I go to Texas, I add red bug. I add red shad. I want something with a little red in it in Texas. Other than that, I keep it really simple. Crap hits the fan. That's kind of my bailout bait is an Ed rig. When applicable. That's why I didn't use it for my one bait everywhere because if you go to Gunnersville and throw an Ed rig around, I don't know how well it's going to go. But
Right.
when you go to a
But
spotted bass fishery or a clear water fishery, I throw an Ed rig and it's always green pumpkin. No flake. It,
just
always green
solid.
pumpkin. Solid. I never change ever.
Yeah. Now, where has been your favorite place that you've? I mean, again, because you've been all over. Where has
Mhm.
been the favorite place that you have fished?
I'm very partial to the St. Lawrence. I grew up, my dad took me there when I was 13 or 14 years old, and I've gone just about every year since I've been able to drive, and I don't think I ever won't go. It's my favorite, and if I were to be broader, it'd be upstate New York in general. It's just you can do whatever you want. You can fish for them however you want. They bite. Um, it's just my favorite. I love it up there so much, and I if for anyone watching or listening or anything that hasn't gone up there, I highly implore you to do so. It's take your best lake in the southeast numbers wise, like just getting bites wise, and that's every lake up there. It's just
But and
ridiculous.
also, I mean, I mean, those fish are built totally different. I mean,
Yeah.
than anything around that I have ever seen.
hmm Yeah.
With
They
that,
are.
with that, with that
Go
being
ahead.
said, what is your bucket list like?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Oh man, I really do. I'm not going to put it as a bucket list, like just because it's it's. I don't even. It's like a. I don't know how to look at it. It's kind of its own thing. I don't even consider it as real.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that goes on down in those Mexico lakes.
Yeah.
Um, I don't even consider that like that's not even real bass fishing to me. Like if I were to go down there if I were to go down there and catch an 11 pounder, I don't even think I'd count it as my personal best because that's not even real. Like it's like going to
Yeah,
a private pond,
yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I
Um,
mean,
I'd say
you might as well put it on the bucket because they got bucket mouths. So I mean, them things are
they
massive.
do. They do. I would say my true bucket list, like lake in the country, public water that people fish, is Clear Lake, California. That place just seems so cool, and it really seems like it's come back the
Yeah,
last three or
I,
four years. I follow a couple guys that live out there, and they all have said the
Mhm.
last 2 or 3 years are just about as good as the height was back 15 years ago.
oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because I would love to go. Besides, I don't care too much about going to California. I've been out there enough. But I would like to hit either the Delta or Clearwater.
Yeah, the Delta too, man. That's just fishing, you know. That's bass fishing.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
but you know, you can't go out there though and not throw a massive swim bait though.
Oh
Swim
yeah,
no,
bait or a glide bait, you
yeah.
have to
you have
throw it.
to. You have to. Yeah, and you'd end up catching them on, you'd end up catching them on a 5-inch stick bait just like everywhere else, but you'd have to try it. Uh,
So
yeah.
well, we've had you on for right at an hour, brother,
Oh
and
wow.
I know
Yeah.
you're busy, but I do want to say thank you again for coming on. We're gonna have to have you come on a little more often
Yeah.
though, because I do enjoy hearing your stories. And the last time that, if I remember correctly, the last time you was on, I think you was on Lanier, Lake
Yep.
Lanier, or
Yep.
Altoona, one of the two.
It was Lanier. I remember it well. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Yep.
he had to, guys. If y'all need to go back and watch, and because it was getting dark on us, or on Lewis. We were inside. It was getting dark on. He had to pull up. He searched the lake to find signal to where he can do it. And he was
Yeah.
sitting there doing the thing, and he's like, "Man, I've got to get to the boat ramp."
Yeah, I remember that well. I think I caught him okay that day too. It was a fun day. That's
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool.
So another question, and then we'll wrap things up.
Sure thing.
Well, a couple questions. Do you prefer like a highland reservoir or a river system?
River system for sure. Highland reservoirs. Being completely honest with you, I stunk on Highland reservoirs until Live Scope came around. They were kind of my crux. Or
Yeah.
crutch or whatever, however you want to put it. I've always been really good. Not really good, but I've always been, able to catch fish on smallmouth fisheries. Very much able to catch fish on grass fisheries. Very much able to catch fish on current fisheries. And then you put me on a highland reservoir where there's no current, no grass, no smallmouth, and I'm just kind of like, it
Yeah.
just it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well,
Scope has helped that. So definitely a river system.
yeah, and I mean, I'm kind of like that. Anything that's, I tell you, my nemesis is deep, clear water. I don't. There's something about deep, clear water. I mean, I might as well just go try to catch fish out of my bathtub with that. I mean, so I just can't catch them. And so,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
It's interesting. I've always been cool with it as long as there's smallmouth, and if there's not, I'm the same way.
yeah. Now I have learned something. That Berkeley Credge.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my buddy Alex Rudd, um, he told me, he's like, you need to get that Berkeley Credge, and he says everybody fishes it wrong. I'll tell you how to fish it. Throw it out, bomb cast that sucker, and burn that sucker back. He says that for any kind of lakes that have blue herring on it,
Mm-hmm.
and burn that credge back. Well, I went out on Chickamauga and I found some bass schooling up, and I took that Berkeley credge and I chunked that sucker and burned that back. I got more hits off of it that day than I did even having a jerk bait on, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing about blueback lakes, and I've yet to go out there in one of them and try it, but I've heard the same thing. I think it ends up being very similar to the Jackal Riser, which is
Yeah.
the same thing with it. Which I don't think is what Berkeley fully intended to do with that bait at all. But hey, if it works, it works.
Because I think like when at first they were like saying that it's supposed to go back up underneath the docks or whatever, back into, and I had grabbed it when it first came out, and I told him when he told me about it, I said that thing sucks,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Look at this," and he showed me some pictures, and I mean, he was smacking some largemouth and some spotted bass. He actually took it on Lanier
Yeah.
and done a video on Lanier where they were schooling up, and it was crazy, man.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we need to get to where when you come through Chattanooga, we need to. I've got a lake that I need to take you to, and it's
Sounds good to me.
not Nickajack or Chick or Gunner
Then,
Shell.
then don't
But
name
I
it.
got a
Don't
lake.
tell nobody it.
You, I tell you, this lake, I have caught my biggest three fish limit at 22 pounds.
I'm in. Well, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, and I lost one that was over 10 that day.
Jeez. Let's do it. I'm
So,
in.
yeah. But we got one last question that we
Okay.
always ask. We've asked you this before, and I think we've actually asked you twice at the Classic, and then when you was on the podcast. We got to
Yep.
ask you again, and I remember who you've picked.
I don't either.
I remember, but so the question is, Louis, if you could fish with one person for the day, can be passed away or still with us, who would that be, and why would you want to fish with them?
I got to sit here and thought for a minute on this one. I got to sit here with this one.
Yeah, before you answer, I'm going
to. I remember. I remember who I said last time. Now, I do remember who I said last time. I think
okay.
that one is still true. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and think of another one.
Okay. So he said before. He said Aaron Martin.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, perfect. Then I got a different one.
Okay. Okay.
Brian Kirchhoff.
No, that was who it was. That was because we talked about the whistle. Yeah.
I thought it was Brian Kirchhoff.
Yeah.
All right, now I got to think of another one again. Dang.
Yeah.
As
soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, because we talked about the whistle.
I thought so. Yeah. Hmm. I'm gonna go a completely different direction with this one. I'm gonna go fun with it, but there's like the problem with fun is there's like 5 different dudes that could be fun. We'll go chalk. We'll go the guy that I've talked to before, and just he's a really cool guy. We'll go Gerald Swindle.
And yeah,
I feel like
well, the thing is, you might not catch any fish, but you're at least going to have some entertainment.
Okay. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But
yeah. So go Swindle.
Yeah. So I'll let's hold on. Says we got. Watched the whole time on YouTube, but you're up on Facebook. Tell Pappy to smile, and it says, "What is Louis learning from his concentrated use of forward-facing sonar?"
Hmm. I'm learning that I don't like it, but I already knew that, so I guess I'm not learning it. Man, I'll tell you what I'm learning. Just how many freaking fish are in our lakes. My goodness. They are everywhere. And there are so many of them. It is just so crazy. And I'm not just talking about, seeing catfish and crappie and white bass and all that good stuff. I know I've gotten pretty good at determining what is what. I can pretty well tell you what's probably a bass and what isn't. My God, there's a lot of bass in our lakes. I mean, there are a ton.
And the
So
thing is
that's what I learned.
Like I tell people all the time, like the forward facing sonar, I've learned more about fish habits than I have really than I think that I don't know. I may have caught a small amount more percentage wise, right? Last year with the forward facing sonar than not, but I learned so much in the past 2 years of having it on my boat of fish habits because what we thought fish were doing has been totally different.
Yeah, yeah. It's honestly interesting. Like I almost look I almost look at it as the complete opposite way, but it's the same answer. Um,
Yeah.
well, I think what I've learned is that I've learned nothing. I don't know what the hell the fish are doing 95% of the time. I mean, they're just there.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, it's absurd.
so the next time that you come on, I'm going to introduce you as the Hoper, not the Scoper, Louis Monetti.
I might be a lie. I scope now. Jeez. but but in my heart, I'm certainly a hoper.
So, but Louis, brother, I I I'm so excited to be able to see you here a couple weeks ago,
Me
and
too.
hopefully I'll be able to see you. You're going to be at ICAST,
Absolutely. Yep.
so I'll definitely. And I got that video. Um, I'll get that video to you that we shot at the classic as well. Um,
Sounds good.
but I may. I think I want to do. I want to do a video though with have you either do the spinner baits or your football head jigs
Okay.
uh, at ICAST. So, but man, we can't thank you enough, Pappy.
It's been good talking to you.
Yeah,
It's
you
been
too.
interesting. I really admire your story on the no graphics on the boat. Now that's if and let me ask you this: if you had one thing to say to an upcoming angler, young angler that maybe didn't have any kind of graphics or anything like that, what would you tell them?
Hmm. A
Encouraging
lot.
words or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Man, that's it's tough. I've. Hmm. I might ask him more than I'd tell him anything. I might ask him simply, how much crap are you willing to walk through to get this? Because if you want it, you can get there. You
Yeah,
can. Any of us
yeah,
can. But boy, you better be ready to walk through some crap. Because
yeah.
it ain't an easy road, man. It
Right,
ain't an easy road. Nothing's given. Nothing.
right.
Yeah.
You know, it's an amazing industry. There are some amazing people in it, but it is a hard one, and there are no handouts. Um, so I'd say if you're ready to do this, come on with it. Let's go. Strap your boots on, and put your big boy pants on because you're gonna take some hits on the way. But it's yours if you want. Just work. That's
Yeah.
what I'd
Good
say.
deal.
So, Michael Lindell says, "Shout out from the Florida swamp." So, he's
Awesome.
down in the Everglades. So,
I'll tell you what. In this 54-degree Oklahoma rain, I'd love to be where he's at right now.
he he'll come on if he's still on. He'll say something. He's got a he calls it Lindell Lake. It's a little pond slash miniature lake. You know how them Florida lakes are, but in his backyard that he's got some monster pacu in. So
Oh
he
wow,
keeps on telling me, "Come on down and catch some pacu."
that's pretty cool.
So,
That's awesome.
but Lewis, again, thank you. I will see you here in a couple of months and in Orlando. And let's go grab a bite to eat, and we'll go hang out and chit chat and have a good time. And but again, thank you, brother, for coming on.
Yeah,
And
sounds good to me.
we
And
will.
Best of luck to you.
Yep.
Hey, thank you
So,
guys. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you guys always being so kind and having me on. And yeah, look forward to Florida, man.
all right. See you, brother.
See you, man.
See you guys.